Maybe this feels familiar. You're talking to her, you're investing your time, your energy, your heart, but deep down, you know you're not the only one. She has options. Other guys in her DMs, guys trying to impress her, guys who might even have more to offer on paper. And the thought eats at you. If this is you, you know that uneasy tension, wondering where you stand, wondering if she's comparing you, wondering if you're slowly fading into the background while someone else takes the spotlight. You replay the conversations, you analyze her texts, you overthink the pauses. Part of you wants to push harder to prove you're the better choice, but another part of you fears that every move you make only drives her further away. It feels like a competition you can't win because the harder you try, the more it seems like she pulls back. And yet, the truth that gnaws at you is this: you don't just want to be another option, you want to be the only one she sees. But what if the way to make her choose you first isn't about chasing harder or outdoing anyone else? What if the real shift happens not in competing with other men, but in becoming the one man she can't compare? Most men get this wrong because the moment they realize she has options, they start competing. They think the way to win her over is to outshine the other guys. More attention, more gifts, more effort. But when you compete for her, you place yourself beneath her and she feels it. Women don't fall for the man who tries to prove he's better than the rest. They fall for the man who doesn't even enter the competition. Now, core masculine principle that flips this on its head is this: you're not chosen because you chase, you're chosen because you stand apart. When you move from a place of scarcity, acting like she's the prize you have to win, you lose the very presence that makes her feel safe and drawn to you. The man who stands grounded, calm, and certain doesn't need to outdo anyone else. He simply lives in a way that makes comparison impossible. That's the energy she notices, and that's what makes her choose him without hesitation. He sat across from her at the restaurant, candlelight flickering between them. Her phone buzzed on the table, screen lighting up with a name he didn't recognize. She glanced at it, smiled faintly, then flipped it over. His chest tightened. Another guy, of course. The thought burned like fire in his gut. He wanted to ask, wanted to demand, wanted to prove he was better. But instead, he stayed silent, swirling the glass in his hand, heart pounding. He looked at her, really looked. The way her eyes searched his face when she thought he wasn't watching, the way her body leaned in just slightly before she caught herself, that's when it hit him. She wasn't just measuring him against other men. She was measuring him against himself, the man he used to be, the man she first noticed because he didn't need to fight for anyone's attention. In that moment, he stopped competing in his head. The noise, the doubt, the comparisons, they fell quiet. He sat back, shoulders loose, gaze steady. For the first time all night, he wasn't trying to prove anything. He just was. And in the silence that followed, she lifted her eyes, caught off guard by his calm. Her phone buzzed again, but this time she didn't look. She was too busy studying him, the man who no longer begged to be chosen because he finally remembered he already was. One false belief men hold is that if she has options, they need to outwork the competition. Text more, show up more, prove more. But effort doesn't equal value. In fact, the harder you push, the more you signal that you don't believe you're enough without the extra proving. Another false belief is that her attention is the prize. The truth is, a woman doesn't choose the man who tries the hardest. She chooses the man who feels the calmest in himself. Presence, not pressure, is what makes her see you differently than everyone else. She won't pick you because you fight for her. She'll pick you because you don't need to. Options don't threaten a man who knows he's not competing. The 3% man doesn't flinch when he realizes she has options. He doesn't start competing, comparing, or scrambling to prove his worth. This is what he understands. A woman isn't drawn to the man who tries to outshine others. She's drawn to the man who stands so firmly in himself that no comparison is even possible. While most men fight for attention, the 3% man knows attention isn't won by effort. It's commanded by energy. This is how he leads, with presence, not pressure. He shows up calm, certain, grounded, and that steadiness makes her feel something no other man can replicate. He doesn't need to be louder, funnier, or flashier than the rest. His strength comes from not competing at all, and because he doesn't chase the choice, he becomes the choice. He scrolled through her feed, each post pulling at his chest like a silent weight. New likes, new comments, faces of men he didn't know. His mind spun with questions he couldn't quiet. Am I enough? What if she chooses them over me? What if I'm just another name on her list? The fear pressed hard against his ribs, urging him to react, to text more, to show up louder, to prove that he mattered. But in the middle of that storm, something shifted. He caught his own reflection in the dark glass of the screen. Tired eyes, tense jaw. A man waiting to be chosen. And then it hit him. He'd forgotten the truth. He was never the kind of man who needed to beg. She noticed him once, not because he tried harder, but because he stood in himself without flinching. He remembered that calm, steady strength. He remembered how it felt to walk into a room without needing anyone's validation. The phone slipped from his hand onto the table. His shoulders loosened, his breath slowed, the panic drained away, replaced by something steadier, truer. He realized in that quiet moment her options don't define his value, his presence does. And the man who remembers that is never an option, he's the answer. The man who never competes is the man she can't help but choose.